All right, sorry about that, everybody. And welcome to another stream. So as I was saying yesterday, one of the things that I was trying to work on is getting the flight sequence working and just kind of also the drop points where you can exit the aircraft. And yeah, let's show a little bit of that. Um, Let me hide some of these stats here. I think, I'm not sure if, uh, interesting. The landscape grass little message disappeared when I would stop showing the frame rate, but let's see, is it going to show up again? Apparently not. Oh, there it is. But let's build that as well. Just do that real quick. Hopefully that message will go away. Um, Okay, so you might have seen this a while back. So there's the kind of the flight path for the plane. Just kind of right now, I guess it's going through the terrain a little bit. So let's adjust that a little bit, um, and we'll see how that works. One thing that I've also updated since yesterday was kind of these points where you can once the plane overlaps with those drop points, you can actually um, hit in the interact key to jump out of the airplane. And what I've done is I've actually set them up because before, the first time I was doing it, I was just kind of hand placing it and trying to adjust the placement by like that. So it was a little tedious to try and place them like right along the spline. And so what I did is I've actually, just like with the plane, I've supplied a plane spline here and kind of how far along the spline they should be at. So let's just adjust this real quick because I did move the spline around a little bit. So there it goes. Let's adjust the spline so it's not in under the terrain as well. Do that here. Where is it? Where's the Stardust spline? That's the plane. Sometimes these are like a pain to select, so you got to find one of those spline points just to select this guy here. All right, so I'm gonna try and lift this up a little bit, and also try to adjust this also a little, so it kind of goes over the top of those trees. And we'll see how that works. All right, let's bring this up a little bit higher up like that. There we go. Okay, so I think that kind of just gonna graze the top of the trees. It's just gonna fly over that like that. Um, okay, so as I was saying, there's the jump points. So one of them is gonna be, or at least right now it's right there. So let me adjust that to make it maybe 150,000. Let's see where that's gonna get placed. So it's gonna be right there. That's just kind of testing them out at the moment. And there's like another second one, which is, let's actually try and place it right around where the village is, and apparently where the spline ends. So let's see, this one's at 200, let's make it 250,000. Where did that go? Oh, it's actually all the way back here, so we probably need a little bit of a higher value. Let's see, 500. Oh, it actually got past the end of the spline. think the spline, it kind of hits the terrain over here. So that's what I need to adjust. Let's try and bring these up like so. All right, so let's see, the jump point is there. So if it was a 400,000, oh, at 400,000 is actually right above this little pond, little lake here. So let's give that a try. One thing that I'm still trying to figure out, whenever starting the game, I'm not sure if it's due to how many actors are in the world, but it's taken a while to start. So I'm still trying to figure out if the setup that I have with the level instances um, is actually um, makes that take longer um, when it to jump into game mode. So that's still something that I'm trying to figure out. Um, and it's interesting because also from the usage uh, perspective, uh, Unreal is eating up like 8 gigs, 7 gigs. I am not entirely sure how this memory is allocated uh, or how it's being recorded because right now it's dropping. Um, yeah, it's very hard to understand where this is going. And of course, as you can see, I barely have, I believe, like one thread running this. So yeah, it might be time for an upgrade. So yeah, as you can see, it still hasn't um, gone into game mode, and the memory usage is really low. So yeah, go figure sometimes. All right, so I guess we're kind of loaded in, so almost. Yeah, right now the memory is starting to creep back up. Um, and it's interesting with a 97% used up memory, and this one shows only like 1,000, like a 1 gig. It doesn't really make sense. So yeah, there's definitely still a few things that I need to figure out and in this regard as to why is it uh, why is it running like this, especially when the game starts so we'll see what comes of that. Okay, so um, just like before, the plane itself, you know, you don't really have control over it. You can like kind of look around, and right now it looks like it's. Um, I am not entirely sure why for that section of the spline, the um, all right, so now we're at the first drop point. I still need to update the text for that. And but yeah, that first section of the spline, it's a little weird um, why it works the way it does, where the plane looks like it's just the kind of the it's not abiding to the spline properly. So I need to look into that and see what's going on. Um, and yeah, so as you know, we're kind of flying through. Yeah, so this is what I meant. I think it might be that the roll and the pitch are reversed, and something that I need to figure out. I think we're closing in on the second drop point, and I'm probably gonna try and like exit right here, and interestingly enough, you're maybe like dropping the player underwater might not make too much sense because yeah, you should be able to swim, but and that's interesting. I think I've ran into so what happens is when you hit one of those boxes, I'm setting the time dilation to be a lot smaller, so that way you have the time to react or decide whether I'm gonna jump here or not. But kind of right now I'm caught into that. As you can see, I'm just this is everything in slow motion, and that's yeah, yeah, it's something to think about as to the positioning of that and also the size of that interaction sphere. So I'm not sure how much I'm gonna need to walk before exiting that interaction sphere. Let's just adjust the size of that. Maybe it's just because the time dilation slows down quite a bit, and but let's adjust this one so it doesn't. Let's see, I'm going to try and adjust the spline. So for starters, you don't fall into the water, just so that we don't have to think about um, which it could be done, but just so that I don't have to deal with the swimming when you hit the water. All right, so there's that. Let's kind of bump this up a little bit so the plane doesn't really start chopping down those trees. Maybe a little bit like this. All right, so that's part of it. Let's try and adjust some of this crazy path over here because it's a little bit not not physics possible, so to speak. Okay, and this one's over there. Uh, there's one drop point over there, and then the plane is here. Let me take a quick look at the plane itself and see what's going on with the flight because it should have gonna try and place it at a few locations along the spline just to see um, how the plane looks. So let's do 10,000. All right, so that positioning is fine over there. Let's maybe do 50. But over here it starts getting kind of funky as to kind of with the nose going up like that. It looks definitely doesn't look normal. Let's try something real quick. Where is my construction script? The pitch. So of course, one thing to note is that the plane positioning is taken into account from the spline itself. Um, so I am really kind of wondering if when I started moving some of these points around, if I might have made some rotations that are kind of weird. And let's see. So also, I'm kind of starting to think that with the distance between these spline points being so big, it cannot really adjust properly um, to how um, the roll and the pitch of the dislocation along the spline is, and that's what might make it look kind of weird. So let's try this at a different point. Yeah. Uh, yeah, that's definitely not how a plane should how a plane works. Let me gonna try and reverse the roll and the pitch. Yeah, so even with those two reverted, it still looks pretty odd. And one thing that I'm thinking might be the cause of it is kind of these extreme, or not necessarily extreme, but these points, I've extended this quite a lot. Let's try and position this again. Yeah, so here it looks a little bit more natural, like for example in this location. But that's also kind of just a straight section of the spline. And yeah, so definitely hugging the spline a lot better here than it did before. So I think adjusting that spline point where those two little extensions, I don't know what to call them, um, that might have helped. Let's see the next, kind of the next point along here. Let's jump another 100,000 points. Yeah, much better over here. I mean, these points are much tighter, so it can get a lot better information between them. And let's see, if I was to this point here and try to adjust this a little bit better so it makes it kind of like a smoother transition. All right, let's adjust the plane. So I think that might be, see, 80. That's a little too much. 50, 60. There we go. Okay. So yeah, definitely sits on the spline much better, and it's still, as you can see, it's still kind of angled up for whatever reason. Let's try and adjust the spline point so it's not too aggressive. All right, so let's do there we go. It sits much better now than before. All right, so I think this long piece here, let's see how it looks in here. Let's try about 260, or was that too far back? I think it might be too far back. Let's do 300. Okay, so that's closing in. And yeah, so as you can see, the it's kind of off um, a little bit. try and adjust these points here and see if I can get this to be a little shorter, maybe like that. And then this one as well to straighten it out a little bit. See if I can adjust the position. All right, that seems to be a little bit better. Where is it? Right here. Okay, yeah, that's much tighter. Even though it's still not quite perfect, it's definitely tighter on that spline as that it was before. So let's try and I wonder if there's a way to split this point. Duplicate spline point. But is that gonna create a separate one? Let's see. Oh no, that's good. So it created, even though the handle is pretty messed up. Let's try and go into local. So let's see, kind of like that. Try to not make it too kind of crazy of a one of those stunt planes. And over here, let's see, can I see these? Oh yeah, I think you can see them a little bit better in unlit mode. There we go. So it's coming in like that, flying through here. All right, let's try and play around with the location to see how it goes. Oh yeah, that's definitely better over there. 250, 270. Oh yeah, look, I mean that's definitely hugging that spline as it's supposed to be right there. All right, yeah, I think that's much better. So I'm gonna try and do the same thing for this point here and duplicate the spline point. And let's try and move it farther back. Oh, actually, it's the other one. So this one, try and move it somewhere back here. That way we're getting a little bit even more information between those 2 points. So hopefully adjusting the position of the plane even better. All right, let's see, where's that plane? And let's adjust placement. Oh yeah, that's still not perfect, but it's quite a lot better. Um, I mean, there's this huge span between these 2 points where there's no point in between. So let's split this up and hopefully it's gonna help with that even more. All right, so let's try and move this point farther back. So since these values are in the construction script of the plane, I need to update them um, just to see if you know how it gets positioned. Yeah, I think it's better now than it was before. I think the tail was further down. So I think it's getting better the more points you add on the spline. And of course, if they're a little closer together, that definitely helps. So let's try and gonna try and make them a little closer. There we go. And of course, I'm gonna try and adjust them a little bit just so that they work out with the flight path like that. Let's duplicate this one and also make these stretchy looking things a little smaller. There. Okay, let's find a plane and bring it more towards this end of the spline. Let's see how it hugs. Oof, I went a little too far. Oh yeah, but here it's much better. It sits a lot better on that spline than it did before. All right, so this one's 1 point here. This is 1 point over here. And I'm gonna try and make these a little smaller. About there. All right, let's see how this goes. It kind of bends around that end. Because one thing that I have to consider is also how the plane rolls, right? Because uh, right, is not a car. It's gonna have to roll sideways to turn, and so that's I'm gonna try and see like is it kind of in this position here, and when it goes, for example, when it goes into this bend over here, like this point, I might want to have that kind of turned this way. So let's grab the plane and bring it closer and see how it turns. Where is it? Okay, so as you can see, it starts to turn here. Let's try to put it at 120, maybe 110. There we go. So it kind of right as it comes into this bend, it starts turning and kind of just banking, I would say. um, let's move it a little bit forward. 15. Oh, that went a little too far. There we go. So it goes along the spline from here as well. And you see, like the more points there are, it seems like the better it it gets the information on how to set the pitch. Try and that was a little bit too steep of an angle. Try to adjust that. I wish there was like in the spline itself. Not sure if there is an option to actually see which one the the rotation of each point is. I'm not sure if, since this is a kind of a custom blueprint, if that's the reason that I can't get to that value. But that's no biggie. Trying to adjust this a little bit better. There we go. All right, so between these 2 points, let's also duplicate this. Okay, I think that's pretty decent there. So around here is gonna, at this point, it might want to turn it like that. All right, let's try and bring it a little closer. All right, there it goes. Okay, yeah, there's the turn. Okay, that looks good there. But this is the part I don't really get. Why in particular around here is where it starts to get so kind of angled, weirdly angled up like that. All right, well, let's kind of bring it closer to the beginning of the spline. Yeah, see, so this part here, I don't get why it's kind of at this weird looking angle, the position slash. I'm gonna try and add some more points on this section. Let's see if that helps. So duplicate spline point. Okay, there it is. The only difficulty when there's like more than one spline point is that, or at least not more than one, but uh, uh, a larger number of them, is kind of the positioning of things. So that you have to like kind of go in and position those items. Yeah, so I don't really get why it's kind of scooching down like that. Let me try adjusting this one. I don't think this one really matter, or wondering if this might affect it that much. Let's try it. Nah, it doesn't seem like it. Um, so let me try deleting this point. Um, Try and make those extensions a little smaller because they're pretty big for this one. Let's see if that helps. Okay, and let's do 68,000. Okay, so that looks so good over there. Let's bring it a little closer to that section with the trouble. Yeah, so over here it starts kind of already lifting its nose. That's a pretty small little gap between these 2 points. They're not too far apart. These ones are not that far apart either, so I don't see them as causing an issue. See if I just add a couple of more points along here. Like that. Okay, that seems to look a little bit better. It's not, I mean, once you're inside the plane, you know, you're not going to be able to tell how how unphysic like behavior the plane is doing. But yeah, let's try and move it a little further back because also once you're looking out the window, um, I'd rather have it look natural. All right, so 40,000. Okay, it's definitely better, absolutely, than it was. Let's do 35, 30. Yeah, over here it's actually seems to be uh, even better on that side. Let's do 20. All right, let's see if I also duplicate this point. I'll try and kind of place them in the middle between these other ones, just like that. And over here, things start to get messed up. I wonder why. What about this point that is causing some issues? Let's try and bring it to 5,000. And then if it's at 0, yeah, see it already starts pretty weird from here. And I'm trying to understand why. Interesting. Also, that kind of positioned it a lot better. Though, let's see how it goes. I'm gonna save it here and do a quick test flight to see how it works. So yeah, bear with me while this churns away to start the game. And I promise you it's thinking. Just not thinking very quick. Come on. And it's also interesting that um, like I said, the memory is at 99%, but it doesn't really show a lot of it being used by Unreal. So it kind of it's pretty baffling. See, I'm hoping I can show you. Uh, yeah. Um, and of course, I ran out of video memory on this old timer of a video card. But yeah, like this is um, it's amazing, but it's probably not the right number, um, which is extremely odd. And then that happens, which is somewhat frustrating. So yeah, that's the one thing that I want to investigate when it comes to this performance, not necessarily performance in game, but like this issue when you actually start the game and why it like takes forever. Um, and I'm kind of I'm really curious why that is. Like I said, one test that I want to do is actually do this thing without all those level instances in there, and and see if that helps at all. And of course, the other thing would be um, to do a build. So I plan on doing that next week, just to make sure that everything works as expected. You know, starting the game, getting into it, reading the missions, uh, kind of the getting to the location and so forth, so that so that works in an actual build and not just in the editor. All right, so let's get into our um, world here. See how fast this loads. And like I said, one thing that I noticed, uh, so as you can see right now, it's loading that persistent world, but there's also uh, it, the progress bar is there's like a separate section that only loads those level instances, and that's what I'm thinking it might um, bring down the performance when you actually get into game mode. So let's see how this behaves. And yeah, so see this is hopefully you'll be able to see this loading level instance progress bar here. I'm not sure if I unload everything out of those level instances and dump them into the world, if that's gonna make things faster. So I'll definitely try that offline and report next week as to oh yeah, this option might work a little bit better. Um, I'll definitely try it for like the levels that have like the exterior levels and kind of exterior walls and see how that goes. Because yeah, it loaded the persistent um, the world partition section of it. It loaded it pretty quick, and then these individual level instances, they're loaded really slow. So that's why I'm thinking maybe having all the actors in that um, uh, not be in these level instances. Hopefully that would help. I'll test that out and see if that is. Hey, Darkside, welcome, welcome. It's been a while, definitely. Hopefully you're doing good. How are you? Yeah, been good, been good. It's been some more progress happening on the game and just kind of churning away at it. Um, it's been a lot of fun. So I guess in the end that's the main thing. If there's anything to take out of this. But yeah, I've moved to world partition just to get a little bit of a better um, control, let's say, over how the levels are loaded. Oh, you finally graduated. Perfect. So happy. How did that go? Oh, nice, nice. Are you coming to uni? Let's try and jump into game mode one more time and see if things work. But yeah, congrats on graduating. Oh yeah, LA should be fun. I still one thing I don't get is um what's there to compile? Unreal. What do we need to compile? I haven't compiled already. Some of these things are just they don't really make sense from a developer standpoint. So yeah, again, it's a very low usage of memory, which I think it's probably Unreal just badly reporting how much it's using. Could it be Windows? No idea. So it's really hard to tell what's What's causing this? But as you can see, so right now there's like almost 16,000 actors in, and um, that's what I'm kind of wondering when it comes to having these level instances that each one of them has several thousand number of actors. If that negatively impacts starting the game. You know what? That's actually a good thought. I didn't really think of checking um, to see what's going on with the temperature. And yeah, there's preparing shaders from what? Um, okay, so the flight seems somewhat realistic, you know. Your hands are on the steering wheel that you don't really have any control on. Yeah, I need to check. One thing that I haven't looked at in a while is the kind of the CPU temperature and to see how that uh, how bad that gets. Um, so yeah, there we go. The player has some control or not control, but you get some steering feedback from here. Um, and Now the weird thing at the moment is, well, aside from that stupidity with the shaders, is yeah. So as you're like flying through, I kind of just wanted to run it to the end. Um, yeah. So the count of those preparing shaders is going up. That doesn't make any sense. Let's see. Can I jump over here? All right, there we go. And then you fall down, or you should. I'm not sure if it got stuck in something. The ragdoll that didn't initiate properly. Yeah, so once you're down, as you can see, like the actors being loaded, they work out really well. I'm not sure if, like I said, it's at the beginning of the game that it's not working so well. But now there's this little oddity around these shaders that are trying to compile, which Unreal doesn't show them anymore for who knows what reason. I'm really hoping they're gonna focus on more fixes than rather trying to implement new features, because that's I think that's a bad way of developing things. So we'll see what comes with 5.3 and 5. I mean 5.2 is out, but I'm gonna transition the project to 5.3 when it's finally released. But having you know, all these things being developed so quickly, like I said, I'm hoping they're not gonna forget about fixing bugs because people tend to do that, and then you end up with like a house of cards. Um, okay, well, what I was hoping for was that I could see, there's usually like a little message, like a little progress bar somewhere here in the corner where it tells you what's happening. Um, but right now there is no such thing. Oh, and one thing that I wanted to do is this recast um, mesh actor. Let me try and remove that because for whatever reason, I have not been able to save it. Not sure if it's anything to do with these ones not being unloaded. but I'm gonna try and remove this one. And of course, these actors, I'm not entirely sure why they're as they're unloaded at the moment. And of course, that I can't really delete. Maybe it's just a matter of being able to save the game. But yeah, I'll try and dig into that a little bit later. So as the shaders are, from at least from what I can tell from here, they seems like it seems like they're trying to do stuff, but again, since I only have 4 cores, it only goes it only goes so quickly. Yeah, so what I was planning to do for the rest of the stream is, as you notice, there's all these areas where you're gonna, kind of come down out of the airplane, and whenever you land, I wanted to make some of these areas be a little bit more, what I was saying, kind of like a hero area, uh, if that's a term, but you know, have a little bit more detail added to it and not just, yeah, okay, I'm still fine with using some of the procedural tools, but I'd still like to have a little bit more detail in here. So whenever you land, like say for example, one of the landing locations will be right around this kind of camping area, and that's why I've tried to bring this kind of the spline right ar right around where this is, and it's also kind of the place where you can interact basically and jump out of the airplane. Yeah, so let's try and get a little bit more detail around this area here. And one thing that I wanted to do is it's kind of barren here at the moment. So let's paint a little bit of, let's paint this area with some mulch so that way there can be um, some trees kind of growing around here. And unfortunately, yeah, there it is. I was trying to find where where the brush went to. So let's add some of this stuff around here. Just like that. There we go. Okay, so now let's gonna simulate some of the trees. This might take a little bit, so bear with me. Yeah, and I think this load unloaded areas, I'm not sure if that's part of that recast nav mesh that we were looking at, and that was I wasn't able to delete. So let's simulate some trees, and then we'll play around a little bit with that IA scatter tool to kind of just do some, kind of some finishing touches around here. But speaking of DarkSide, thank you for mentioning to clean your PC. That's definitely one thing that lately I've been thinking about because ever since I got this secondhand PC, it's like a water-cooled system, the very basics of like the that it just looks really cheap. It was a cheap thing. So, but I've never cleaned the liquid or like replaced that liquid inside it. So I'm gonna try and get one of those PC temp apps. I might have it somewhere to um to see how hot the CPU gets because I don't know. Hopefully it's not gonna melt. So yeah, we'll see what comes of that. hopefully, uh, hopefully it's gonna do a little bit better than it did than it's doing right now. And of course, it's struggling when it comes to the shader compilation work. And there's also the procedural foliage simulation right now that's totally not helping. But yeah, it's weird where that why did it decided that it needed to compile shaders? That is beyond me. All right, so resimulating. I wish I'd know where the resimulating, uh, what the resimulating state is because it's at 100%, but of course it's not. So it kind of goes to show that these progress bar are pretty much, most of them are kind of useless. At least it seems like the level loading ones, they somewhat are close to, what you see is what you get, sort of, like when it finished, the progress bar finished, it's finally loaded. But not so much with when it comes to these foliage components. And yeah, now I know it's the whole uh, computer right now is under a lot of stress, but even when it was like simple generations, it was still like going to 100%, and then you'd have to wait for, a few extra seconds. Right now, there's quite a lot of trees to add in here, but yeah, it's still kind of choking up at the moment. At least I don't think it's gonna run out of memory, um, because this one is still it's still going, still compiling something. I have no idea what, but it hasn't really taken this long. Um, but yeah, it might be due to these shader compilation workers taking up the rest of the threads, as few of them as they are. I need to find some good elevator music to play while this is going on. It might be time to at least update the CPU and motherboard and kind of the RAM. Still keep the same video card, but at least from to hopefully help with kind of this development speed and get a few more cores going because 4 cores is definitely not enough nowadays. Like as you can see, it is struggling. And yeah, I think what's more frustrating is that you have no sense of what's going on at the moment. Like those shader compilations, they usually show up down here, or there's like some kind of a progress. But so yeah, sometimes with game development, there's gonna be dead times like this. Oh, oh, it did something. Oh, finally. I was starting to think that, hey, I have some time to go get a coffee or, something like that. And, uh, but thankfully, it finally loaded. Oh, and look, there's some trees in the distance. I kind of like that. I'm gonna try and get some of them, but not during the stream right now, to paint a little bit of this slope with some of that mulch, so we get some trees on these slopes down here as well to break things up, and maybe on this section as well. But yeah, finally, um, whatever I painted down here got eventually loaded, and we got something around this camp where one of the fall locations are going to be. So what I was planning on using is, again, I'm a big fan of this tool, this IA scatter tool, and you probably seen me use it before for a lot of these areas around here, like where we ha either have some like trees that are on top of these rocks that you can't really paint with well, I guess you can't place them with the procedural foliage tool, but I'd rather have the control over it and kind of place them myself. So what I intend on doing is kind of using this one around some of these areas. And what's cool about it is that it works really quick, right? It's just a line trace as to as compared to the procedural foliage tool, which takes a while. I mean, and I have expanded it quite a bit, and you there's like trees all the way back there. But in this focused area here, let's go ahead and play around with the spline and what we can add around it. So I'm just gonna remove some of these points. There we go. So yeah, that's the main reason that I like this tool so much. That it gives you the possibility to place these things on a spline and have all these additional settings here. And mainly, one of them that I really like is this spread. So right now they're pretty tight onto that spline. So let's actually try and make them spread them out a little more. Okay, let's see, maybe 1,000, 2,000 units. Okay, that's a little bit better. So there we go. Because what I wanted to do is kind of make it a little bit more of an enclosed area once you fall in here to try and direct the player, kind of out uh, towards the road or towards the area where I want to send them. Okay, so the cool thing is with this spline, let's actually make sure that it's pretty much all above ground as best as we can, kind of like that. All right, so with this spline, I can also add, right now it's only, there's only trees. I think there's like two types of trees. And that kind of, once it blends in with some of the other trees that are part of the um, uh, foliage, they actually work out pretty well. And along here, let's actually also add um, some trunks or like some like fallen trees, debris, just to spruce it up a little bit. And I'm trying to think if I want to keep that. Let's actually keep it on a separate actor here. So I have this. Um, this is the IA scatter actor. So let's create another one. And for this one, I'm gonna try and use like some rocks and some dead trees and some other items to fill up the space. Let's see what I can find. Rocks. All right. Well, I'm gonna start with, let's try this one and see how this one looks. Not sure how big it is. And now these ones, since they're quite a bit smaller, I'm gonna try and keep them above surface. Let's see, how small are these ones? Okay, so I think this one might be a pretty good one. So there's that rock cluster, and then this one, which apparently it's this is something I don't get. Like I dragged the item in, and it's got the shaders compiled, but then these ones took a little bit to actually compile. So yeah, go figure. Okay, now with these ones, let's try and place them like alongside this edge because it looks like they're kind of colliding with the trees. So let's see what we have for our settings here. Um, let's see. Method one, method two. Well, I was one of the things that I'm still trying to get used to this is kind of how the trace works when it comes to the collision with the environment. But let's see, because right now, as you can see, they're kind of floating in the air, probably just because they collided with. Oh, actually, let's see, 1 second. I'm gonna try and hide these trees and this one. What is its issue? Hey, Susanna, welcome. Something that I've shown earlier at the start of the stream was the flight sequence. So when you fly in with the airplane, and the the opportunity, um, the ability to choose a spot where to jump. And what I was doing now is I was trying to spruce up the area of one of the jumps just to test it out to see how it looks. And one of the tools that I'm using to add some of those procedural, um, well, everything is procedural, right, when it comes to the vegetation, to the foliage. But in these particular areas, I wanted to use this IA scatter tool that I have from the marketplace to add a little bit more detail, like some row of trees, some rocks in this area, like a different concentration of rocks around here, and so on. And I'm just playing around a little bit with this tool, especially trying to figure out um, the kind of the distribution of it and and the placement. And I'm having a little bit of a hard time with figuring out which one of these might be best as far as let's actually make them like that. As far as how they're placed on the terrain. No, I'm not using 5.2, and even if I was with that what is it, procedural content generation, um, my understanding is that that thing is still experimental, so I'm not gonna rely on it just yet because it might get scrapped at some point. But yeah, this tool is extremely simple to use. It's very powerful and pretty much does similar things to what that well, to some extent, right? But um, but yeah, this is kind of just what I need, like the placement of these rocks like this. Um, but the one thing that I'm like I said that I was trying to figure out is trying to get this because as you can see there's like a lot of them that are just floating in the air like that, and some of them that have indeed been placed on the ground like they should, but some that are just kind of floating around. Well, I guess trace complex was one of the issues. And let's see, can we also align to normal if that might work for some of these. Maybe not so much because they kind of fall around areas like this. Yeah, and I guess this mesh does not have a bottom, so maybe um, align to normal does not do so well. So let's just leave it like this. That seems to work out all right. I guess there's definitely going to be areas where I need to smooth out the terrain a little bit. And of course, why is this one just floating up like that in the air? There we go. So yeah, the cool thing about this is that these meshes that you specify here, they're turned into just like I had that blueprint that I made for the buildings. They're also like instance meshes, which is cool. Okay, let's sink this into the ground a little bit. Uh, Maybe that's a little too much. Negative 20 to negative 40. There we go. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's unhide those trees that were kind of just the kind of boundary border around here. Like that. There we go. That's pretty cool. And one thing that I actually forgot, there's back in the previous map that I had, this area had a big little I wouldn't call it a puddle, but it was like a kind of a lake area. So I'm gonna try and bring that in as well. But now that this one's in place, let's also kind of bring this ice scatter section around here. kind of like that, creating like a little bit of a, um, maybe like a gully valley, yeah, you know, not entirely sure what you can call it, but yeah, let's create kind of like since this is like a little bit of a camping area, let's create like the beach access point, and oh, thank you so much for the info. Look at that. Uh, now it finally decided to display something, preparing shaders, and it had something in there. Let's do a quick save because um, I don't really like to rely on that autosave feature too much. All right. Well, so let's restore the little lake area that was around here. And I'm gonna grab, where was the little village from here? Let's grab these blueprints. I think I can actually just use one. There we go, trying to place it somewhere around there. Um, make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Let's see, or maybe to about there. Now from this end, I wanted to kind of cut through it a little bit. So I'm just gonna, since I'm gonna use the exact same, um, these tools, uh, select this real quick if I can. Thought I should be able to, but keep selecting the terrain. Oh, I was I was trying to select one of the trees um, from the procedural foliage. So there we go. We have this one here. So I'm just gonna use this to move it alongside the water's edge like this. There we go. And maybe open it up a little more like this. There we go. That's a pretty sight over there going on. Let's paint this terrain, and I'll probably simulate it again after the stream. But let's actually paint. Yeah, I'm not sure how that preview happens, but let's paint some grass around here because the trees do not get simulated on grass. And I'm just gonna go with this here. Maybe a little bit of a smaller tool strength. There we go. And of course, where the water is, I'm just gonna paint the gravel because again, there's no uh, spawning of vegetation or trees where there's gravel. And when it comes to the aquatic plants, those I'm gonna add those in with with that scatter tool as well. I wish that simulation was gonna work a little bit quicker because I wanted to to show the result here, but It does take a while, unfortunately. All right, so there's some cleaning that up over there. Okay, so we have the rocks. Those can stay alongside there. And now let's get another one of these kind of towards this end over here, just to hug a little bit the edge of the water. Like that. There we go. All right. And some of these. You can also bring them around here to create the edge along this little cliff. All right, so let's kind of block off some of this access back here. And for that, of course, same tool. Let me see, I did have one that I was working with somewhere around this area, excuse me. I'm finding it interesting that I can't select the instance foliage actor at the moment. I'm not sure exactly why. But let's grab one of these from here. These kinds of cliffs. And bring them over here. Kind of work a little bit like this. There we go. And if we close them in, maybe a little too much. There we go, like that. And with one of those, let's see, I need to grab the trees if I can select them. There we go. Bring this over here. And there we go. That actually makes it look quite interesting. You have some of that added elevation from those trees growing up top of these rocks. And then of course, one thing that I wanted to do to this level, to this area here, is sculpt it out a little bit. And let's actually try and create like a ramp. I do like how the ramps work. There we go. Maybe we can make it even a little bit bigger. Just kind of the slope down towards the water over here. Let's just move these so they resimulate. I just need to to move them a little bit. Where's the gizmo? Here it is. There we go. All right, let's just kind of adjust this. All right, I'm gonna try and sculpt the terrain to help with this little, let's start with a little grown section here. There, that's better. Let's remove some of these. I don't think I need them, maybe. Oh, please don't crash. I've hit undo, and sometimes undo is like it's Achilles heel. I don't know why, for whatever reason. But if it does crash, we just might have to end it a little early. I'm not sure what's like undo is just crazy resource intensive. Of course, depending on what the previous action that you did. So before undoing, make sure you save. That's one of my takeaways. Oh, did it really not crash? Please. Oh yes. That was that would have been a little bit annoying if it would have if it would have crashed. So there we go. All right. Well, we can place these a little bit better around here. Thank you, Susanna. Yeah, that was it was one of those moments where like, I hope I saved. Um, it's gonna suck if I didn't. But yeah, luckily it didn't crash, so there we go. This one, I thought I had it set up this shader to use the proper blend with environment, but it's not using the right material. So there we go. Let's make this work. There we go. So these ones should blend in a little bit better with the terrain now. we go. All right, so looking kind of good. I'm quite happy with that. This road is not quite done just yet, but let's paint a little bit of paint this terrain where this parking lot area would be, and let's use some of this gravel to try and just not overdoing it, but just to reduce some of this vegetation that grows around here a little bit, just like so. And I'm gonna try and bring the terrain back to where it was. Not too much. I think that might do it there. Trying to blend this in with the other layer that's just to add a little bit more variety at least. I'm still not completely settled on this texture at the moment. I do kind of like it. There's like a little bit of variety in it. There's some rocks, there's some uh, kind of, mm, wouldn't call it moss, but just dirt. But I do like it overall. All right, and let's create a path, kind of the path going to the water. I'll try and use this one. Okay, they like that. I like that. All right, pretty good. One last thing that I wanted to try and see if it fits in more than anything. First, let's smooth this out a little bit. It seemed like there's kind of bumpy around here. I wanted to see if I can add a fence, like just a kind of an old looking fence going towards along the path. And of course, what else can I use but the IA scatter tool? All right, so right off the bat, it kind of looks like this because it starts off with it being a planar down. So hey, 3 Die, welcome. Um, what about the LZ landing zone or drop zone? So actually, this is what I was working on at the moment right here. This being like one of those zones where I was trying to add a little bit more, um, detail than just a regular forest, completely procedural, no real, um, I wouldn't say care or attention that goes into it, but this one should get a little more, is what I wanted to get. But yeah, what I'll do is once I add this, I think this last little item that I was thinking of adding, we'll quickly start the game again and use this as a drop point. and we'll see, once you fall down and kind of walk around a little bit and see how things look. So yeah, um, hopefully you were still around when I was doing the past hour and 40 minutes or so. Because yeah, it's coming to the end of the stream today. So let's add in a fence. I do have one, I promise, and that I've used in other places. I believe it might be in here. Let's see what we can work with. Okay, I think this one might be of use. Okay, so right off the bat, there's like a variety of shapes, same orientation, or variety of sizes, sorry. But we can address that. Let's first start with the distribution method. I wanted it to be on a spline going down. And let's create the spline to go along this this path going to the lake. All right. Now let's adjust the positions and the scaling. And where was that? Okay, so that's the location. Oh, and also I wanted to set that to 0, so it follows the spline directly, since it's kind of like a man-placed item. And where was that? There's the rotation. We might need to adjust that as well, but let's actually set it through here. So that way, the spline rotation is set to Z, and as you can see, it just follows the spline. Now let's look at the scale because the scale is all over the map. So the way I do it is like I try to make these all be 1, like that. Okay, so it's starting to get there. And what else? What else? Let's play around with the fixed instance distance along a spline. Let's see, 500, or did I not? 300. Doesn't really seem to influence it too much. Where was that? It was like the spline down. And we are, maybe there's a little too many of these. So the node tracing will actually just follow the spline the direction, it will follow how the spline goes. It won't try to place him on top of the ground. So I'm just going to use that so that it places down there. And the other thing, and again, this kind of brings us to the kind of the one of the things that I'm still having, like I said, a little bit of difficulty with it is there's like a few options for how the traces are done. This trace complex, um, and also ignoring self, which we kind of want because we wanted it to be like an actual fence. And the overlapping. So the overlapping is something that again, just through experimentation is whatever seems to work better. Let's see, minimum distance between instances. How does this help? Not so much, apparently. But I know that one thing, let's see if we can change this back to a bigger value. Spline distribution type fixed. Oh, I forgot to set the spline distribution type to a fixed distance. So that way we can get these to set up 400, 500 maybe. That's a little too much. 450, 420. Yeah, 420 seems to be a little bit better. There's some odd duplications. I'm not entirely sure from what. Um, but yeah, given the amount of options in here, overlapping node detection doesn't really seem to be doing anything in this regards. I haven't actually checked to see if this fence has collisions. It does. It just has some kind of pretty complex collision. So I'm just gonna make it to be like a little, just a box, simple box collision. Okay, but I'm happy with that. It's pretty um, kind of edging of that. And this was like the first fence that I was able to find, not necessarily the one that I'm probably gonna stick with, but let's also make this maybe a little smaller. Um, kind of like that. There we go. So yeah, having these as blinds helps a lot. Being able to kind of just adjust it like this. The only thing with to keep in mind is you can't really do, especially since they're just like instances. You know, they're not really they're not like when you have a particular. Sometimes when you use a spline, it can bend the mesh, right? Well, in the case of this, since it just places instances, it doesn't really do that. But you know, as far as it being less costly, like draw calls wise, I think it's better. Let's add a little bit more instances in here just to kind of make them like that. There we go. Okay. Well, so with that, let's try and start the game, and let's see once you fall into this area how things are looking. I wanted to make sure that this particular item here, where you would fall, and maybe let's see, move it, move it a little bit longer. Whoops, I think I pushed it a little bit too far back. So 500. Okay, that could work. Let's move it a little forward. Okay, let's try it there. Since it's quite almost right above this area here. All right, well, bear with me for while this starts. Like I said, hopefully I'm going to be able to figure out why it takes a little bit longer to start than than I wanted it to. And my thought is something along the the level instance um, section is where I'm going to try and test out. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. There we go. And hopefully the stream is still up. I guess OBS ran out of resources because, you know, limited amount of them. And I guess I might have moved the plane along the spline because it didn't start at the beginning. I can't tell. Come on. You're almost there. There it goes. Oh yeah, I guess it did start from the beginning. So by next week, I'll also plan on getting I've turned off the audio for the plane because it was a little annoying. So as you can see, we're like overlapping with one of the jump locations here, so you can interact. Need to update that text. All right, so you continue your flight. Yeah, the helm rotates with the basically the position of the plane with the spline. All right, so it seems like we're heading towards where I wanted to jump. All right, so let's jump right here. All right, so that's kind of the experience. And not sure if you heard the audio of whoever's reaching out to you, but then once you get up, you kind of get up in this area. I think I might want to fall a little bit closer to where the cars are at, you know, like everything where it's parked over here. And yeah, from here you can go towards either like this area with the beach over here. I mean, because at this point you'll be able to like pull out your radar and actually find where you're supposed to go, which I think I need to reset the the mission because it's not pointing you to where you're supposed to go. It should have like on that compass, it should have like a little bit of an arrow to help you kind of instruct you on the direction of where to go. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today. I think everything, at least in my mind, everything that I was hoping to do um, was done. You know, like adding this kind of area here and you know, making it, you know, sprucing it up a little bit. Kind of wondering what happened to the trees that were on top of that. Did I undo a little too much? I might have. Okay. And yeah, and there were like also that spline that was here. Uh, where did all of that go? Well, that's a little bit odd because also like the water body is not there. Okay. Well, I'll have to figure out if I don't think I don't think I've hidden them, but yeah. So that's gonna be it for me for today, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I definitely plan to have some more updates next week. So I'll see you on next Saturday and as well, hopefully on Sunday as well. Thank you again so much for stopping by, and have a great rest of the day and the beginning of the week. And I'll see you next weekend. All right, bye everybody.